Hi guys, this is Carrie here. We are doing crushed velvet tray and coasters. It's a simple, easy, but really cool effect. So what I'm doing here, I'm starting with some chameleon powder of the mica powder. It's color changing, and this is the silicone mold, and I'm just brushing this just along the corners of this mold, as you can see here. I do that for the tray, and then also for the 4 coasters that goes with the tray. And you can see I'm all done there. So now what I'm going to be doing now is I'm going to be mixing up some resin. So in your kits, if you got a kit from me, if you didn't, you want to measure out 4 ounces of casting hardener with 8 ounces of casting resin. So it has to be casting, not the regular 1-to-1 stuff. So you're going for the 2-to-1. So two times 1 resin. So 8 ounces of resin and 4 ounces of the hardener, the casting stuff. The reason I use casting is because it dries when it hardens, it stays straight. It's not bendable. Sometimes when you use the 1-to-1 resin, the molds can be bending quite a bit. Now the resin I use in my kits is magic resin, and I find for this casting resin specifically that I can stir up really fast and not worry too much about the bubbles, because it's pretty thin, and the bubbles, I do go over it with a little heating gun, but the bubbles are not very many. There's not very many bubbles, so it's good resin. So it's the magic resin. Sometimes I use Resinator or Resinate, also a good brand too. So here I am, and I'm just filling these just so that the bottom of each mold has some resin in it. We're not going to fill these. This is going to be a 2-step process, and this does take 2 days in between. So you have to do this step 1, and then the next step is step 2, which you don't do until 2 more days. So that's why the resin, when I send it in my kits, it comes in 2 different size containers. So if you had my kit, you would use all 3 of the smaller containers. So here I am just with my mini hot air gun, and I'm just going over for any kind of air bubbles that did come up, which I have said is not very many, but there's a few of them. So just go over that. Now with these little mini guns, they get nice and hot. They don't blow the resin around that much, so they're perfect as an alternative to a torch. But if you have like a propane torch or a creme brulee kitchen torch, those work perfectly fine too. Also, you could also spritz alcohol on it, and that also works. So here now, this is the one thing that does not come in my kits, is saran wrap. So I hope you have some at home. You just need a couple sheets of saran wrap, just enough to go over the resin, as you can see here. Now you want to make sure when you're doing it, you're not getting any air bubbles stuck underneath the you want to make sure the saran wrap is fully in touch with the resin, and there is no little locked air bubbles in there. So sometimes I have noticed that, and what I'll do is I'll take the air bubble and I'll slide it with my finger over top of the saran wrap to the edge, and then I'll pick up the little piece of saran wrap and coax that air bubble out. So you can do whatever you want with patterning here. Just however you're feeling it, and yeah, you're just going to complete these all for all of them, the coasters and the tray itself. This is going to have to stay on for 48 hours before you take the saran wrap off. So in this way, you don't have to worry too much about any kind of dust or hairs that might fly around in the home if you have pets or anything, because it is covered with the saran wrap that does come off at the end. Well, not at the end, but at the end of the first section. Okay, and then you can see, I guess I started this tray before I had gotten my camera on, sorry about that. But I'm just taking this chameleon mica powder and brushing it on. So I've already removed the saran wrap. It's pretty easy, just it doesn't stick to the resin. It's pretty easy to just remove it. And then once you remove it, you take this this mica powder, which is chameleon, which is multicolored, so depending on the light you shine it, it's going to pick up different colors. So you're just going to brush all of that, all of the molds with the clear resin that now has dried over the 48 hours. You're just going to, with a brush, it comes in the kit. If you didn't buy the kit, you just need a little soft brush. You dip it in the color, and you just brush it onto the resin in the mold there. And so these molds should be a little bit less than half full. Okay, and now the next step you're going to want to do is you're going to use if you've got the kit, or if you don't have the kit, you're going to want to use 6 ounces of casting hardener and 12 ounces of casting resin. So see me measuring it out here. We want to put, you can use, normally we use black to go on the back, but because this is a kind of a reddy color, it looked more red in the actual little container than it does there. There it looks kind of orangish brown. Wasn't really the color that it looked like in the actual little powder bottle. But normally you would mix your next resin with black, and it would give you that black, that crushed velvet look. But because this was not quite as red as I had wanted it, I did mix in some red mica powder and some black for the last coat, which you'll see in a second. So there I am, just stirring up the resin. They recommend 2 to 3 minutes of continuous stirring. Because this casting resin is really nice and thin, it was easy to mix in, and like I said before, not very many air bubbles at all. So there you can see that I've used, it's called, it's my color, red wine color. And it's mica powder. And then you didn't quite see it there probably, but I'm also adding in black alcohol ink. Now when I did this the first time, the first kit, my recording got messed up, so I couldn't use it, but I used just straight black with the first time I did this with the blue color. And there is a picture of the first, the results of the first test run or whatever. When this video is done, you'll see the blue color. I actually prefer that one, the blue one. Then I wasn't as crazy about this one as I was about the blue one that is coming. But it's the same technique. So, you know, you just have like 10 different colors that you can choose from for this camellia coloring. And so there's quite a few different choices there. You know, you see that I just pour straight on top of, I know I put the mica powder right onto the resin. You don't have to worry about it. You just pour the new resin right on top. It's going to be fine. And when you're doing this part, just be careful not to overfill your molds. I find it a little bit more difficult to get the edges off if the molds are overfilled and it comes a little bit on the white part of the mold on the top. It's a little bit harder to get off. not out of the mold, but a little harder to trim the edges when when they're really thick. So even if you have a little bit resin left over, don't pour it in. Like, just cover it, put enough resin to top the coaster, and then just leave it. And then again, we're going to take a hot air gun, and we're going to blow out any potential air bubbles. Which, like I said, there isn't very much with the magic resin casting, but just to be on the safe side. I'm just kind of moving some of the resin there. You can see from the one coaster I did overfill a little bit into the bigger one. Then you can wipe the edges even with paper towel to get that extra resin off. I'm just going in there with my little hot air gun. It's a mini hot air gun. I do also sell those in my store. Just more convenient because I used to use a torch, but then you're running out of the lighter fluid in there, and I just find it easier just to plug in a little torch and use it. And it's small enough that it doesn't blow the resin around, so it's my new preferred. I used to always have a propane torch, but I prefer this little heat gun. I just don't blow it on to the resin until I can feel in my hand, like I'll blow it on my hand until it starts to feel hot, and then I'll put it over towards the resin. Now you're going to wait for 48 hours before you touch it again. There, now it's been 48 hours and I am unmolding here. And you can see how there's some little bit of, well, you'll see it, I'm a little bit out of shot here. You'll see it more on the tray. There's a little bit that have come over the edge a bit. I just use scissors to cut it off. If you want to be super exact, you can use a heat gun and put the mold on, take the mold out of the coaster, put it down on a table and heat the edges where you want to cut off, and you can do it with an X-Acto knife. So you get right into every nook and cranny. But I find just a pair of scissors, usually as long as I've not overfilled the resin too much, there's just like tiny little bits of clear resin that have stayed behind that is easy to either peel off or cut off with scissors. Now with this coaster and tray, now it's still going to be a little bit soft after 48 hours. So you're going to have to leave it on your table or wherever you've worked for another 24 hours before you put it in use or put it away or anything, because otherwise it will mold and then still harden over the next 24 hours. So if you've put it someplace that's not completely smooth, it's going to firm up in that shape. So just make sure you keep it flat for another 48 hours. So that's what it looks like when it comes out. I wasn't quite as happy with this one as I was with my blue one. You'll see that coming up in the pictures following this video. Video's pretty close to done. You'll see that soon. See how cleanup is so easy with a puppy pad. And there they are, finished. Now you don't have to paint the edges on this because we already put the color on the edges. Sorry for the small pictures here. And then the blue one, you see the blue, and depending on the light, the blue one looks purple at times. So yeah, that's it. Thank you for watching my video, and it's available on my PourSomeArt on Etsy. Thanks. Bye.